China's absolutely owning the electric vehicle scene in a super chill way. Back in the day, they relied big time on imported oil and foreign car tech, but now they're the undisputed champs of EVs. In 2024, China produced over 60% of the world's EVs and grabbed nearly half of global sales, with about 11.2 million units sold at home. That's a solid 38% jump from 2023. Pretty wild, right? But it's not just about selling cars. China's got the whole EV game locked down. They control around 85% of global battery cell production and the supply chains for key minerals. Plus, they shipped out about 1.25 million electric cars in 2024, making up 40% of global EV exports. Oh, and shout out to BYD. They passed Tesla to become the world's top seller of battery electric vehicles in 2024, taking the global sales crown for the first time. That's a big flex. Looking ahead to 2025, the vibe's still strong. Global EV sales are expected to top 20 million, with China snagging over 14 million of those, holding their domestic share at about 60%. This EV takeover comes from smart government planning, huge investments, slick tech, and a massive home market. That said, there's some talk about overcapacity and geopolitical stuff that could shake things up. Let's talk about how China went from bikes and coal to ruling the electric vehicle world. It all kicked off in the early 2000s when the government saw EVs as the move to tackle two big issues: dodging risks from oil import blockades and cleaning up crazy urban pollution. Around 2000, they got universities, scientists, and companies hustling on battery tech research. Fast forward to 2008, electric buses were rolling through the Beijing Olympics Village, showing off their early bet on electrified public transport. The real game changer hit in 2009. China dropped massive subsidies and tax breaks over 200 billion yen, that's about 29 billion bucks, through 2022 under plans like Made in China 2025. Their big brain move? Skip the old school gas engine tech where Japan and Germany were bosses and go all in on EVs. By 2012, BYD was already a rock star, leading the charge with electric buses and even exporting them to the US while setting up factories there. China used public transit, taxis, and government fleets to buy up early EVs, giving companies steady cash flow before regular folks even jumped on board. By 2016, most Chinese cities were running electric buses, and by 2020, EVs were basically taking over new car sales in urban spots. Then, in 2019, Tesla opened a factory in Shanghai, which was like throwing gas on the fire in a good way. It supercharged local supply chains and tech know how. First up, government policies. China's been all in on EVs with some serious planning. They used to give out big subsidies like 8,000 bucks per vehicle until 2022, then switched to a system that rewards companies for pumping out more EVs. From 2023 to 2024, they rolled out a huge tax break package worth about $72 billion, and it's extended through 2027 to keep buyers stoked. They've got trade-in deals too, offering rebates for swapping old cars for EVs, which kept sales strong even during economic slowdowns. Local governments are in on it, competing to build EV hubs like Jinhua New Energy Vehicle Town, where a startup called Leap Motor sold nearly 300,000 EVs in 2024. All told, China's dropped around $231 billion on EVs since 2009, which has scaled things up big time. Some say it's unfair competition, though, and that's why the US hit them with 100% tariffs, and the EU added up to 37.6% duties in 2024 and 2025. Next, their supply chain game is unreal. China controls pretty much the whole EV ecosystem. They're making close to 80% of the world's battery cells and over 85% of key materials like cathodes and anodes. Companies like CATL and BYD perfected lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are cheaper and more reliable than what a lot of Western companies use. BYD's a beast. They make their own batteries, semiconductors, motors, and software, cutting costs by 20 to 30%. They've locked down lithium and cobalt supplies with mining stakes. In 2024, battery prices dropped so much that some EVs were selling for under 20,000 bucks. That's why places like Nepal, where 76% of car sales are EVs, are all about those affordable Chinese imports. Finally, tech and infrastructure. China's pushing the limits with stuff like BYD's fast charging tech that gets you 400 kilometers in just 5 minutes. They're working on solid state batteries with prototypes hitting 1,000-kilometer range. And in 2024, they poured about $830 million into next gen battery research. Their software's on point too. BYD's driver assistance systems and AI are leaving some old school car makers behind. Infrastructure, they've got the world's biggest charging network, adding over 2 million public chargers in 2024, even in far off spots. Plus, their high speed rail takes care of long trips, so EVs dominate in cities, making up over 50% of car sales. China's got a huge edge with its 1.4 billion people. That's a monster market, and EVs are eating it up. In 2024, EVs made up 40% of car sales there, up from just 6% in 2020. Why? Affordable prices and some smart government policies pushing folks to go electric. Exports are on fire too. They're shipping tons of EVs to places like Southeast Asia and Latin America, where sales legit doubled in 2024. In the first quarter of 2025, global EV sales jumped 35% to 4 million, and China snagged 60% of that. Oh, and their used EV market is popping off. 800,000 resales in 2023 alone. That's a whole lot of electric cars changing hands. Now let's talk challenges and what this means for the world. China's got a bit of an overcapacity issue. Factories are running at like 50%, so they're exporting EVs at super low prices, which is clogging up ports. This has sparked some trade drama, with the US slapping on 100% tariffs and the EU hitting up to 37.6% duties to protect their own car makers. On the green side, EVs are helping China cut emissions, transports about 10% of their total, and globally, EVs could avoid 2 gigatons of CO2 by 2035. But here's the catch. China's still using a lot of coal for electricity, so the environmental wins aren't as big as they could be. Globally, China's EV game is a masterclass in planning and execution. They've turned into a clean tech superpower by thinking ahead and investing big, but it's a heads up for everyone else. Fall behind and you're stuck playing catch up, plus they could control prices down the road. Looking at 2025, China's going to keep pushing with new tech and bigger markets, though those Western tariffs might slow their exports a bit.